A super useful way of thinking about why the Declaration of Independence matters is thinking about it in terms of its audiences. Who was it written for? Obviously, the first audience that Thomas Jefferson and the other members of the Committee of Five make explicit is the King of England. By extension, the British Parliament, who'd been taxing the colonists without representation. Thomas Jefferson lays out that everyone is born with John Locke's list of natural rights, and that when those rights are violated, people have the right to form a new government that better protects those rights. You know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Jefferson and the committee made a very deliberate choice to single out the king as the source of those violations. And they provide a laundry list of how he has trampled on their rights. But calling out the king by name was no small thing. When members of the Second Continental Congress signed their name at the bottom of the Declaration, they were committing treason in the eyes of the crown, and for all they knew, they were signing their own death warrants. Serious business. But arguably, the most important audience for the Declaration of Independence was not the King of England to whom it was addressed, it was the other colonists. At the time when the members of the Second Continental Congress signed the Declaration of Independence in July 1776, the revolution was really only happening in one place: Boston. They weren't just declaring independence to the king, they were writing a rallying cry to try to bring other colonists on board with the cause. They're basically saying, this revolution is real, it is time to ante up and choose sides. One more very important audience were the enemies of England. America declaring independence telegraphed to potential allies like France and Spain that they were serious and ready to take on the British Empire, which would be wonderful for France and Spain, who wanted to see England suffer. In this way, the Declaration was a plea for their assistance. Finally, there was an unintended audience for the Declaration of Independence that was at least as important in the eyes of history. Allow me to explain. When Thomas Jefferson put the words on paper that declared, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal," he was mostly arguing that American men deserved the same rights as English men. But whether he intended it or not, these words had a much broader impact. For example, when the language of the Declaration of Independence was incorporated into the Massachusetts state constitution in 1780, an enslaved woman named Mumbet overheard that the new law said that all men were created free and equal and that they were all entitled to liberty. Mumbet got a lawyer and sued for her freedom based on the liberatory language of the new state constitution. She became one of the many enslaved people whose freedom suits helped end the institution of slavery in northern states during and after the American Revolution. When she got her freedom, Mumbet changed her name to Elizabeth Freeman. The language of the Declaration of Independence had several audiences, but it was its language of universal rights that may have had the most significant global impact, because the document's words and ideas spread like wildfire, regardless of the author's intended audience.